Mark Meckler, Convention of States, my friend. Welcome. It's been too long, but we are glad to have you back on the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm busy. I'm going to that website you just said so I can get one of those kits. So.
Well, you should. And then I'm going to go to the Convention of States website. Thank you very much. So, obviously, as this year, 2024, becomes more insane, arguments by the Supreme Court's Ketanji Brown Jackson basically saying that, hey, the First Amendment kind of hamstrings the government. And I go, well, no, bleep, Sherlock. We clearly are being run by maybe not so much of the Supreme Court, but certainly in the deep state, a bunch of very corrupt individuals who make our founders' abuses and usurpations pale by comparison. I believe that the Convention of States is the only thing that can really save us at this point, considering all of the election shenanigans. I'm hopeful for a victory. How is the move for a Convention of States going?
Well, we're in full swing. I mean, this is legislative season, so for us, the year gets started the first week of January. Right now, I think there are 37 legislatures in session across the country. In the last week, I've been all over the place. I was in Connecticut, I was in Louisiana, I was in Florida, and I would say it's going really well. What we're seeing is every year, incrementally, we move forward further and further. In states where we've never gotten into committee, we get in committee, and states where we've never gotten out of committee, we get out of committee. It's definitely an incremental game, but it's going really well. We have one state, by the way, in the whole country where it's never been introduced. There's only one we've introduced in 49 states. The only place that hasn't happened is in Connecticut. I was just there last week. Literally had 100 people show up from the grassroots on a weekday in a very blue state. Got a promise from the legislature that next session will be introduced, so that'll be our 50th state introduced.
Now, let me ask you, there are some people who are pushing a fear-mongering campaign about the possibility of a Convention of States. I have no fear about this. What is the goal in your estimation, or your goal, period, because you are instrumental in the creation of this organization, of a Convention of States? What do you hope can be done if and when this does finally happen?
Yeah, I'll start with the general and go to the specific. Generally speaking, the goal is to restrain the scope, power, and jurisdiction of the federal government. The federal government had 17 enumerated powers when it was founded, when that document was written by the framers. Today, because of the courts, and you were mentioned some discussion by Jackson Brown, Ketanji Jackson Brown, but the reality is now they have 17 million different powers that have been granted by the court. So that's the goal of the convention. We can do things like impose term limits on the federal government. We can impose a balanced budget amendment on the federal government, spending caps, tax caps. We can do away with things like the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, the Department of Health and Human Services. These are things that the federal government was never intended to do. This is power that's been usurped from the states and from the people, and the only way we're going to fix it is if we fix that ourselves, Rob.
I think it needs to be done. I think, A, we need Donald Trump in the White House again. B, I think we need a Convention of States. You could switch those around, by the way. But I think it is absolutely necessary. You look at the scope and overreach of the federal government, it has become obscene. When we can't, as the American people, we have to sit and watch a stream of people come across our southern border, clearly with malintentions toward the United States, many of them military-age males from our enemy states, including China, and the American people can't do anything about it, Mark. To sit here and watch our own destruction is so disturbing and disgusting. And we've got to do something about it. The American people are crying out for it. Before we move on to other things, how can people get involved with Convention of States?
Yeah, they can go to conventionofstates.com, sign the petition to let your state legislator know that you believe in this, and then click on the Take Action tab, Rob, because you're in action, I'm in action. We need everybody in action if we're going to save the country.
We need to do something. Also, I might mention, I know that you are very passionate about the defense of Israel. Donald Trump yesterday was talking to Sebastian Gorka, a frequent guest on this show, and he said that the Jewish people who vote Democrat hate their religion and hate Israel. And, of course, the left is taking his comments out of context like they did the word bloodbath. But I would venture to say, and I have been saying it forever, that the Democrats who are Jewish in this country are self-loathing. They are also self-loathing liberals in this country who would hate themselves because the color of their skin would be perfectly fine with illegals coming over into the United States and reaping all sorts of benefits while they suffer. It is somewhere between, I guess, Munchausen by proxy and the Stockholm syndrome. I believe it's common in both Jewish Democrats and also Democrats and liberals in general. What are your thoughts about Donald Trump and his comments about Jews who vote Democrat?
Well, look, I feel like I can speak to this with actual personal knowledge. I am Jewish on both sides of my family. I'm a Jewish Christian, and I agree with that. I don't understand how any Jew in their right mind could speak out against Israel at this point, could speak essentially for Hamas, for the folks that committed these terrorist acts, this rape, this murder, this torture. Those are absolutely self-loathing Jews, and I don't think they understand anything about history. And I don't think they understand that the people that did this to Israel would just as happily do it to them. And I also think the broader point that you make is correct. Democrats are weirdly self-loving. They think they're the best, most amazing people in the world, and self-hating.
Yes.
They support people who would be happy to send them to their deaths. You've got this LGB for Palestine, whatever it is.
Yes.
I forget all the alphabet stuff. And those people would be tortured, murdered, thrown off a building, shot in the face, whatever it is in both West Bank and Gaza, and yet they support those people. It's absolutely insane.
Well, it's the same people who egged on Black Lives Matter and said you should be able to steal, you should be able to do whatever, you defund the police, and now they're getting what they deserve. Now it's coming home to their neighborhoods, and they're freaking out about it. But I've never understood this, waking up every day hating yourself because of how you were born, despite the fact you never owned slaves. I always thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I was, if you look at my upbringing versus the one that so many espouse as, truly being a victim in this country. My father left me at age 7. I was raised in poverty by a single mother. I was bullied. I had to work in farm fields for almost no money at all. I can go on and on. I can go on and on about it, and then all of a sudden I find out just a few years ago, and my son is very young in school, that he's privileged. And I'm privileged. And honestly, I'm done with it. I'm thoroughly done with it. And I don't hate myself because of how I was born. And this has all been put into place for people to divide us. That's all it exists for.
This week I saw a fantastic interview, Elon Musk, and he was talking about all of this stuff, right? All of the ridiculousness of the DEI, of all the things where we're categorizing people by race. And his position was just stop it, right? Enough of this stuff. There's nothing healthy about it. There's nothing good about it. It's not going to do a single good thing for our society. And that if what we're doing is if we're going to stand against racism, he was speaking to Don Lemon, then we just need to stop talking about it. That by talking about it, all we do is talk. We make it much worse by every measure, every single measure, no matter who you ask. Race relations are worse in this country Barack Obama was president than they were before he was president. And that's because people didn't think about it. People just judged each other by the content of their character. And were there racists? Of course, there have always been racists. There will always be racists. But when we focus on it, racism is always much worse.
And I might add that when you say that the United States of America is institutionally racist and nobody can achieve anything if they are black in this country, you are whizzing on the history of the greatest black people who have ever walked on the face of the earth. Everybody from Jesse Owens to Louis Armstrong to Oprah Winfrey to Michael Jordan to Michael Jackson. I could go on and on and on and on and on. They come almost exclusively from the United States of America. If not, where is the Oprah Winfrey of Chad? Where is the Michael Jordan of Nigeria? Really? Honestly, it is utterly ridiculous and an insult to history. Listen, Mark, I greatly appreciate you joining me today, and I will do everything I can to create momentum and continue the momentum you've started with Convention of States. Again, conventionofstates.com if you would like to you'd like to sign up. Mark, I might also mention there are Convention of States meetings around the country. You can also join in. I've spoken to a couple of them here in Kansas side of Kansas City. Is that correct? So people could go and just attend a meeting and learn a little bit more?
Yeah, they can do that. And if they go to the website and they sign up, then they're going to, if they say they want to volunteer, they'll get connected with all their local teams, see everything that's going on. Convention of States activists are involved in election integrity stuff, pro-life stuff, pro-Second Amendment stuff. If you're interested in being involved, Convention of States is the place for you.
All right, my brother. Great to have you on. We need to make your visits more frequent. All right?
Absolutely. God bless you, Rob.
You too, bro. Appreciate it.